Hello everyone, my name is Gennady. Today we are going to practice on mock interview on the position of Senior Automation Quality Assurance Engineer slash SDET position on e-commerce project. And for that project, it's mostly about backend API testing. Today we have Arina. Arina, hello.
Hello.
So let's start with just a short introduction. Could you please tell who you are? What's your main experience skills?
Yes, hello to everyone. I'm a data engineer in startups, so I have more than 9 years commercial experience with QA and analytics. So this day I want to make a mock interview for QA automation position.
Yeah, thank you. So let's start. The interview will be focused mostly on technical part. It will not be a coding part. So it's more like general interview on a position. Then maybe it will be some interview in a specific team and etc. So let me start because this position mostly involve API testing. I will start with your API knowledge. So we're working on a project with several microservice applications and etc. Can you please share your theoretical knowledge? So and maybe practical. Which microservices you worked, which approaches of testing, maybe you worked with several architectural style like REST, maybe SOAP, gRPC, and etc. Can you tell me more about that?
So I was working with REST at most and with microservices and sometimes with Kafka or RabbitMQ. So my knowledge mostly based on REST applications, and REST is about HTTP methods, and every methods have this own goal. So we use get or post or patch or put or another methods. If you want, I can describe something else.
Okay, so let's go to some other topics. So, for example, when we are working with REST, there is a lot of HTTP methods that we are using. Can you name, for example, the difference between GET and POST?
So the GET method just only request data from a specified resource, and POST method is used to submit data to the resource, mostly.
Okay, is there any difference, for example, with payload of GET and POST requests?
Any difference with payload, yes?
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, can you send, for example, a GET request without a body? And what about POST request? Is there any difference here or it's identical?
So I can make request get without a body. It's from specifics, but we can make get request with body, and it will not be the error. But post request is used to make it with body, yes.
Is it will be an error or maybe impossible to create, for example, from developer's perspective, a post implementation when there is no body, or it's required?
Do you mean post request?
Yeah, I'm speaking about post.
Yes, you can make post request without a body. It will not be the error.
Okay, so usually on our project, we are using a lot of things. We are using post, patch, put, delete, and etc. But like in general way of testing, what you're checking, like status code, maybe something else. Can you tell me, I don't know, what's your typical scenario?
First of all, I check the code, status code. If I see something like 200, 200 and something else, it's okay for me. It's not just about that my API works properly, but this status is mentioned like it's okay for only this method, okay? So if I see something else, for example, 300 or 400, or maybe 100 or 500, it's not so good. It mentioned like it is an error for me, for like a QA.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, for example, with a get or post and etc., you sometimes receive a body, and it
Yeah.
could be, for example, a JSON file or maybe something else, and you need to check from functional side that it has I don't know, concrete contract, so the list of fields and values in that JSON is also the same as you are actually expecting. How to check that? Maybe in automation, maybe in Postman, and etc.
So first of all, I see just with my eyes, and I look for the fields, yes, and check with documentation. But yes, there are some another ways to check the fields in JSON or in XML. If you use automation, you can parse the received JSON and compare it with the expected structure using some libraries, for example, JSON or something else. And in Postman, the same, you have some capabilities to verify the JSON response. You can write the scripts with JavaScript and check your fields in JSON.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So I think that's enough for API testing. Let's go just to Java knowledge, like theory of, for example, OOP. Can you name OOP principles that are used in Java?
OOP principles in Java. Okay, so Java is OOP language, which consists of OOP paradigm. So one of these principles is encapsulation. Also, there is inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you tell me more, for example, of one of them, for example, encapsulation, what it is, in which case you're going to use that as automation engineer?
So encapsulation involves bundling related data and behavior within a class and restricts access to the internal state of an object using access modifiers, maybe like private or protected or public.
Mm-hmm. And what's the goal of that, dividing our fields, objects, and etc. on several access layers? For example, why we need to hide it from somewhere, from someone?
Yes, it's more about security. I don't mean security at all, but it means about your behavior of your application. So to improve your organization, your domain, and to improve your code maintainability. With, for example, some classes cannot access to the methods they have not do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Just small questions. Maybe you know the difference. There is several keywords in Java, like final, finalize and finally. So do you know the difference between them?
Yes, we have final, finally, and finalize. Finalize is used for JVM. For JVM, yes, when we use garbage collectors, and final we use when we work with variables and to make sure that your variable will not be modified. And finally, we use in such construction like catch maybe, and we write finally for options we have not mentioned in case.
Can you give me an examples? For example, in which case you will use it?
What? Finally?
Finally.
Finally. So when I use maybe when I develop a banking application, so maybe I want to create a customer class, and this class will have some behavior, and I will use engage. So in this behavior do something, in this behavior do something, and finally, if those checkups are not proven, so finally make something.
Mm-hmm. But it's more like of exceptions handling, yeah? So can you tell me more about that?
About exceptions in Java?
You spoke about try-catch block and finally block. So all of that probably used mostly for handling exceptions in Java. So how it's working generally?
Working, what do you mean? Work case constructions or exceptions in Java, or exceptions with finally or something else?
No, more like generally. So there is also some kind of exception hierarchy in Java. Maybe you know about that. So
yes,
you are handling it. Okay, I already understood that you can use try catch and finally.
Yeah.
But for which exceptions you are going to use that?
So yes, Java has an hierarchy of exceptions. We have handled and unhandled exceptions. So when you use try catch in constructions, maybe in case construction, you use handled exceptions. Exceptions that you can to check.
Can you name, I don't know, for example, you wanted to check that you cannot divide to 0. Which exceptions you're going to use?
Okay, when I want to divide by 0, it's something like arithmetic exception in most yes. So Java, it will be maybe illegal argument exception, or maybe yeah, something like this.
When you spoke about handled and unhandled, you mean checked and unchecked exception?
Yes, I mean checked and unchecked exceptions, yes.
And how, for example, IDEs that you're working on, maybe you are using like IntelliJ Sense or some kind of it like Eclipse, for checked exceptions, sometimes it will help you. How you can use that in automation? So you're not probably not using try-catch block there.
Yes, we can integrate, yes, our environments with our automation frameworks. So IDEA helps to work efficiently and has some features to handle, to check exceptions. So maybe some assertions and other methods to check exceptions.
Okay, usually I just put after signature throws, for example, IO exception, and it wasn't enough. So it's basic implementation. Of course, you can override it with your own try-catch block. Okay, we spoke for exceptions a lot, but there is also one other way, I don't know, other type, that some kind of alone is an error. How to handle an error when it's applicable to your application?
An error. Yeah. So maybe to propagate this error to another method, but it's not the best way. Maybe to log the error just for developing, yes, to see your error in log. Maybe terminate the program when you have this exception. So, to do something like this.
Can you handle the error with try-catch block?
I don't think so.
Okay. So let's move on to other things. For example, except exception hierarchy, we have hierarchy of other things in Java. For example, collections. Did you work with collections? Do you know hierarchy of collections? Maybe some implementations of them?
Yes, I have such experience. So Java has a collection hierarchy. It means that Java has some collections like set, maybe queue, the queue, list, and other. For example, map is not a collection in terms of Java.
But what's the type of collection, list, map? What it's all? I mean,
What the type?
Yeah, what's the type of it? It's an object, it's a class, or it's something else?
Oh, it's just an interface.
And why we are using interfaces in collections? Why we are not creating it as a class? So we still need to create an object. Why we have list and implementations as array list and linked list? Why we are bound to an interface in that?
So first of all, it's useful, and you have only one interface, for example, list, and you can make just several realizations, linked list, array list, or you can make your own list with your one interface list. So it's useful, yes.
Okay, and you also mentioned a map as like separate from collections. Can you tell me what's the difference?
Because map don't have iterator.
Maybe something else?
And these collections are like dictionaries, and key and value. They different from other collections, really.
Okay, so the main difference is that map contains key value.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you name implementations of a map interface?
Implementations for map interface, sure. They are hashmap, hash set, yes, tree map, and maybe some else.
Okay, you mentioned hashmap, yeah? Can
Yeah.
you tell me maybe some external working of how it's creating? So there is a word hash in that naming. Yeah, what does it mean? What is hashing?
Hashing is a function. So it means some function to make the unique values, but in hash map sometimes there are collisions really. But most of all, this function has the main goal to make unique values in collection. Unique keys.
Okay, and how it's internally stored in a hash map? Do you know something about bucket?
Yeah, when we have collisions, yes. Do you mean this?
I mean, generally, it's not only about collisions, so you're just storing it in that way. Can you tell me more about how it's actually internally stored in a hash map?
Yes. When key value pair is inserted to hash map, so Hashcode is calculated to determine the index of the bucket where the pair will be stored. And where we have a collision, multiple case, for example, which have same hash code, the key value pair is added to the linked list in the corresponding bucket. So it will be a linked list, yes.
Do you know something about load factor in hashmap?
Yes, we have a load factor in hashmap. So I don't remember actually which is the value of load factor, but it is maybe above 0 and 5 or like this.
Okay, but why we are using that load factor? It's not always using, like, for example, if you have only one element, probably you not need it. In which case you are using load factor, and in with which other operation it's actually start working.
Maybe when you want to maintain efficient performance of your collection.
Actually, it's more about when you are putting more and more elements, so you need to increase your capacity. So
yeah,
it's the same for other structures in Java, for example. Array list also work in such way, so you have some default capacity, but it will be increased once you will get more elements. Okay, so probably that's all from about collections. We can also refer back to OP principles, and you mentioned that there is abstractions, and we also know that, for example, list is an interface. So what's the difference, for example, between interface and abstract class?
Yes, abstract class and interface have some differences. So interface can only contain method signatures and constants, and cannot have method implementations. So abstract class can contain both abstract and concrete methods. Interfaces are used to achieve abstraction and provide a contract for the functionality, and abstract classes can also have instance variables, constructors, and other features that interfaces cannot have.
Is there any limitations in inheritance of interfaces and abstract classes?
Yes, there are any restrictions. So when you inherit from abstract class, you can only inherit from just this abstract class. But when you realize interface, you can realize many interfaces.
You mean implement, yeah?
Implement, yes.
Okay. So, is there any class in Java that we are always extends when we are speaking about classes?
Any classes which always extends?
Yeah, like when we are just wanted to extend some our custom class, it's more like
Maybe you mean object class.
yeah. I mean about object class. Why it's needed and for which I don't know methods we are using that.
Yes, object class is the main class. It's like maybe super class for other classes in Java. It has some methods like toString method or equals and hashcode and other methods. Yes.
Do you know something about the contract between equals and hashcode?
Yes, equals and hashcode has a contract, as you mentioned. So I don't remember clearly, but it just when you use it's just hash if hashcode is the same, so it not means that two objects are equals. Yeah.
So usually when we speak about equals and hashcode,
Yeah.
so we need to override it at the same time, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
And if
But
we will not do that, what could happen?
If you will not override these methods both, so you cannot to check your objects if they're really equal.
And what about collision in that case? What it is and in which case it could happen?
Okay, when you use some class and it has this own structures of the class, you can try to check if your classes are equal, but the idea will say that they are not equal because yes, they have collisions maybe in hashcode. That's why you need to override.
Collisions in hashcode means you have two different objects, but with
Yeah,
the same hash? Or
with the same hash.
but how it could be? Like, do you know any like situation when they will accidentally will get the same hash? How it could be? Is it really possible?
Yeah, it's really possible, but I don't know such special cases when we face this problem. Yeah.
Yeah, but hash itself is just a big number. So
Yeah.
if you have more objects that this value of big number, so at least one of the next element will not have unique value for hash, so
Okay, yeah.
or something like that. Okay. So probably that's all for Java. This position also includes a little bit of UI automation. So can you tell me about your experience with Selenium?
Yes, I was working with Selenium with Cucumber framework in one of my projects.
But how Selenium and UI automation related to Cucumber?
No, there are separate frameworks, but we can use it together for maybe BDD tests.
Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by BDD test?
BDD is a popular framework. So when you use BDD, it means behavior-driven development. So you can write your tests in end-to-end paradigm for web applications or for UI and for API testing. So you write it just like um, uh, language not in Java maybe, or not in Python, but in natural way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and did you had a chance to work with Selenium or any wrapper without BDD, or you have only BDD experience?
Not only BDD. When you say Selenium wrapper, maybe you mean Selenide or something else, or no?
Did you work with Selenide or other?
Yes, I was working with Selenide, yes.
And what's the main difference between Selenium and such wrappers as Selenide?
Selenide has expectations in in his methods. When you use Selenium, just pure Selenium, you have to write many weights. So Selenide has expectations in methods.
So, other words, in Selenium you need to implement by your own, but in Selenide it's already in the box, so it's already available.
Yeah, in the box, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's imagine that you wrote a framework, you use Selenide or Selenium, maybe even BDD, but how to execute all of your UI tests? Because sometimes there is a lot of issues, you need to use several browsers, you need maybe some kind of also encapsulate your results. You cannot do a lot of regressions on your local machine because it may be UI, hundreds, thousands of tests. How you will handle it?
What do you mean? Many browsers or many UI tests or something?
It could be even both. So you have hundreds tests. You need to execute every on several browsers like Chrome, maybe some mobile versions, Safari, and etc. So probably you need to use execution not on your local machine for everything. So how you will manage that?
Selenium has Selenium Grid to manage such situation, or you can use just Selenium WebDriver and use something like Docker to run your tests in different environments.
Mm-hmm. And why you mentioned Docker? So what's the benefit of using that for that task?
It's very useful because every container can can have its own infrastructure, operation system, and browser, and you can run just some tests in one container with Windows, maybe one container with Linux, maybe one container will be with Firefox, and one container with in other browsers. So you will have some runs, and it is useful for checking the results of your after tests. if one container will stop, it will be just one container, but not all the tests. Yes.
And do you know the main difference between like virtual machines and Docker?
And the main difference, I think that Docker just have only such components that you really need, except virtual machines that will have all infrastructure.
You mentioned that using Docker, you can run it on Windows, Linux, and etc. So Docker contains operational system on its own, or it's some other way how it will work on.
How it work with other operation systems?
No, I mean when you're creating and configuring Docker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Docker itself, is it contains operational system, as you mentioned. So you mentioned that you can use it with Linux, you can use it with macOS, with Windows, and etc., and test it on different browsers. So it's included into Docker, or how it's managing?
So Docker does not contain a traditional operating system on its own, but it can make containers with applications and their dependencies, allowing them to run consistently across different environments.
So looks like it's a difference between virtual machines.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably that's all from my side. Do you have any questions from your side?
Can I ask a question about your position or about the test software or no?
If you have something specific, I can reveal some information if I know about, but you probably will have additional interview on a specific team, because for now it's more like general interview position.
So in this way, I don't have any questions now.
Okay, thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Gennady. Bye bye.
Yeah, see you. Bye.